Danny, just moving on to the next topic. We did have sort of glimpse of Natasha Jonas. She's actually joining us for the next
Tantalising glimpse, yeah.
yeah. But we're going to be talking about female boxing. We know in 2020 that there was a rise, and Tasha Jonas was one of the people who fought in one of the most memorable fights in 2021 against Terry Harper. So, Danny, just building up to this segment, what are you expecting this year? Because last year, female boxing left on such a high.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. And I'm hoping that the fact that, the vaccine's out, the pandemic's easing, you're going to see more male boxers out and high-profile male boxers out. I'm hoping that doesn't take away from the growth and the development of female boxing that we saw last year, because they did really prove on the biggest stages that they are very entertaining, very professional, very skilled, and worthy of the platform they were given. And I hope that continues to grow in 2021.
Cool. I think we're just awaiting Tasha Jonas, who's supposed to be joining us for this sort of segment. At the moment, she's not there, but we've got Ali Drew, who's a presenter. She's presented on SecondsOut before. She does a lot of presenting work and interviews a lot of fighters. So Ali, thank you very much for joining us. I think we're having technical difficulties with Ali as well.
We're going to have to manage the female boxing segment with no females the way this is looking.
I think there's just a few teething problems here at the moment. So it's not an issue. It just seems like people's internet might not be up to scratch at this present time. So we're hoping to get that fixed. But at this present time, Dan, let's talk about that. What was the fight that you thought stood out for yourself in regards to female boxing in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look past the Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper fight, of course. There's a bit of controversy in whether it was, really a draw or not. But just an excellent fight, fought at a very high level. I think the skill level was very high. It wasn't just a good scrap and they belted into each other for 10 rounds. They showed real excellent technique. Natasha Jonas, obviously former GB Olympian, Miss GB, trained by Joe Gallagher. And I think Terry Harper has just improved leaps and bounds with each fight. And she looked even better in her second fight of the year. She fought 3 times last year, which a lot of boxers failed to do. Won the world title, of course, against Ava Wallström. And then retained, albeit with a draw, against Natasha. And then fought again. And looked excellent when she faced her mandatory contender, Katrina Tandis, towards the end of the year. So a great year for her. I think for Jonas as well, there were no losers in that fight, literally and figuratively, because she put her name on the map and people finally realised that amateur pedigree is translated to the professional side.
For sure. I think the one that stood out for me especially was Savannah Marshall. I think she was on the undercard of the Derek Chisora fight, maybe. I can't remember what it was one of the pay-per-view cards. And she was fantastic. With Peter Fury in the corner, she can go far. But I think we have got Ali Drew on at this present time, who's going to be joining us. Ali, welcome. How are you? Hello, Ali, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Having some technical problems, so typical.
It's all right. It's a live show. Me and Danny are just made to be look like right fools at this present time. We're talking about female boxing without any females on the show, but we're glad to have you on. How's life treating you, first of all?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, just in lockdown, trying to make the most of what we can, I guess. Can't wait for boxing to return. It's good news that it's coming back. So, yeah, just doing what I can.
I think we've got a bit of a delay on Ali's connection, which is fine. It means we can get away with saying whatever we want in the gap. On the plus side, as for Natasha Jonas, she was with us for the earlier sections. Obviously,
I can't hear you very well at all.
She appears to have dropped off. But yeah, so Ali, we were talking about female, but Tasha Jonas has now joined us again, I believe. Tasha, how are you? We were just singing your praises and saying how your memorable fight with Terry Harper, how you finally proved to all the doubters that were out there that your amateur pedigree has very much translated to the professional game.
you know, it is experience, and it is, you know, boxing at its elite highest level. And, you know, a lot of amateur females have turned over and are now world champions and challenging for titles. So that just shows you how good the female amateur game is.
How did it feel to be part of a wider kind of movement as well? Obviously, when you're in the fight, that's all you're focusing on. But female boxing had a massive year in 2020, and yours was, you know, foremost among it because it main evented a Sky Sports show. So, how did it feel being part of that greater female boxing movement, if you like?
I mean, breaking down barriers is something that we've done all the way along. You know, not just myself, but the likes of Nikki Adams, Savannah Marshall, Chantel Cameron, and yeah, that's just something that we've. As you say, you don't realise what you're doing when you're in the moment, because you're an athlete only looking at the result. But when you step back, or like after my amateur career, I moved away, and you know, had time out, I look back on it and thought, you know, we did something great there. And it's the same now as pros. You know, we was up for fight of the year, and considering, you know, maybe a year ago or before Katie Taylor was there, Jane Crouch was fighting with the actual ball to even get us there. It's massive. It's a massive movement.
Tasha, how do you feel boxing and female boxing in general needs to progress now? We know in 2020 had a massive year, but the last thing you guys want as female fighters, for it to go stale. So what would you expect to happen in 2021?
I think every sport has their eureka moment. So, you know, female football had it in the World Cup and the Europeans before that. Netball had it in the Commonwealth Games. Hockey had it in the last Olympics. And once you get that eureka moment, like ours is now, you have to roll with it, and you have to, you know, ride the crest of the wave. So we need the backing of big promoters like Matchroom. We need the backing of big broadcasters like Sky. We need every public media outlet to be positive, and you know, we need the backing of big corporate sponsorships as well. And you know, while it is it got that like movement, we need to keep it going and keep it being positive, because we've kind of broken down the barriers now of, is women's boxing as good as men's? We've done that. We've been through that now. Majority of people are on side. We don't have to break down that barrier. Now we just need to pushing it and progressing it in the right direction.
Just want to then talk about yourself quickly then in regards to that. Your fight was probably one of the most memorable fights of 2020 against Terry Harper. A lot of people saw that as a very close fight. Some people I spoke to give it to yourself. Some people give it to Terry. But for yourself, is there been talks in regards to when that fight's going to, or the rematch is going to happen on that?
No, in short, no, there isn't any. Obviously, it's quite well, you know, publicised that myself and Matchroom couldn't agree on a 3-fight deal. Because I didn't agree to the 3 fights, that means none of the fights happened, which meant there was no contract. You know?
Oh, it looks like we may have briefly lost Tasha there. That was obviously Eddie Hearn hacking in. Cutting her mic before it was too late. Memories of CM Punk there. Oh, she's back.
I was like, oh yeah, because of the COVID, obviously, it's going to be a struggle, like you were saying earlier, to get on shows, because everybody is fighting for a place. You know, the small hall people who were contracted to Matchroom are fighting for their place. People on small hall shows are fighting for their chance to be on TV. And I think the boxing board could be instrumental here, because in the first lockdown, they shut the borders so no international fights could happen. And that meant that all the British fights had to fight British people. And that, if that happens again, that could be massive for British boxing. And they could help boxers out by doing that.
Well, I want to ask Ali as well. Ali, you're a pioneer in your own right for female presenters of sport. You know, it's not something 20 years ago we ever used to see, and now there's a huge swathe or swath of talented females fronting sports programming now. What does it mean to you, the year that boxing had in 2020? Because it's kind of caught up to that side of things. Now the female fighters are getting the platform they deserve as well.
Yeah, I think it's obviously everything's just on an even playing field. You know, there's no reason why presenters, female boxers shouldn't just be on the same level as men. You know, I think that it's taken a long time. It's still not there. But I do think that 2020 was a big year for that development. Obviously, you know, with the first women's world title triple header, you know, going on, there's been massive advancements in not that long. So yeah, I think that from now it's just only going to get better, to be honest. And obviously, it's great to see so many women in the media side.
Great stuff. We appear to have temporarily lost Natasha again. I think our system can only handle one strong woman at a time, it appears. No such sexism here from Oun and myself. But yeah, hopefully we'll get Tasha back so we can at least say a proper goodbye. But we're